Okay. I believe this one's the last of the Netflix things. 100 meters. I didn't get a chance to see this when it was in theaters, but it hit Netflix on New Year's Eve, so it still counts for 2025. Heard a lot of really great things about this one. I think it's from the author of Orb as well, the original manga. Um, let's jump into a hopefully very good movie.
Alright. I like that a lot more than Orb, which will probably be my only hot take for this video. Probably not, but we'll see. Just finished up 100 Meters. This is from the same author as Orb on the Movement of Planets. And I believe it's from the same director as Ongaku, which was a music anime movie that I did not watch. But I might get around to at some point. This is definitely one of those, I was about to say something really stupid. I was about to say, this is one of them movies. This is definitely it's a visual treat for sure. That'll be my opening comment, I guess, on the actual quality of the film. This is a hugely ambitious project, blending just traditional animation and rotoscoping and these more abstract segments of animation. I swear there was at least one live action background in this. I swear there was at least one. The way it's just so visually fun to look at times. This is a incredibly visually appealing movie, not just for its ambition, but for its quality as well. This is probably some of the best rotoscoping that I have seen in anime, period. If not the best rotoscoping I've seen so ever. Granted, I am not super into rotoscoping animation, so I don't know a whole lot about it. And honestly, my only anime examples I can come up with off the top of my head are Murder Case of Alice and I forget what the other girl's name is, but that movie, Hana and Alice, that's what it was. And then Aku no Hana, which was not good. Or maybe it was good and we were too harsh on it back then. What was that, 2013, 2014? I might have to go back and rewatch that. Probably not. And I'm sure there are other cases of rotoscoping in anime that I'm just forgetting. But this is the most obviously very good one that I have seen so far. Although it's not entirely perfect, there are definitely some shots with the rotoscoping where it feels off ever so slightly, either because it is adding so much extra movement than what is expected, I guess, from a given scene, if that makes any sense. But more so, my issues are sometimes the texture of the character designs doesn't quite match the movement, if that makes any sense. Like, there's a particular shot of, like, the coach from a rival high school that I'm thinking of when I think of that. Like, there's a particular shot of him walking towards the left side, walking on the left side of the frame. But yeah, that's it's a little, just a few like minor nitpicks here and there in terms of the animation, but overall, phenomenal production. For a really solid story. I'm not going to say it's amazing, because this is just straight up not the kind of story I'm particularly interested, at least from the narrative presentation, I guess. What What am I trying to say when I mean that? If you look at the kind of anime that I like, they tend to be much more emotionally explosive, I guess. And this one is not. It is much more toned down in certain areas. In other areas, it is very emotionally poignant, and especially with the moments of despair and anxiety and pain that some of these athletes go through. There was one more on the animation. Togashi's, our main character's breakdown in the third act of the movie. That looked a little silly. Visually impressive, but it looked a little silly. So, there's that. But yes, this is not an explosively, like, melodramatic movie of any sorts. This is a very, straightforward sports film with some really solid rivalries, and a lot of very interesting character combinations, and seeing how these different athletes bounce off of each other's personalities in different ways is very interesting. But honestly, I'm kind of grasping at things to talk about, because this is one of those shows where it's like, I don't know, the complexity goes over my head a little bit, if there is complexity there, or maybe I'm just being down on it for no reason. This is... What am I trying to say here? I'm also very tired. But this was... I really liked seeing Togashi's journey throughout this entire film, and all of the bumps and bruises along the way. Him, like, giving up around high school because he thought that he wasn't getting any better, and then jumping back into it for the love of the game and for the love of running. And then his big career slump as he became a professional and all this stuff. Oh, I love the guy who he has a contract with, like his sponsor. I love how much of a fucking prick he is. He's a fucking weaselly little shithead. I kind of love him for that. And all of the other characters that he bounces off of, Komiya especially, as this, let's call him neurospicy kind of dude, who is, and initially just runs to get away from all of his problems, and then decides that he wants to run so that he can have all of the records. And then when he realizes that he might not be able to have that, he just circles back to that bit of advice from Togashi at the very beginning of the film: running 100 meters will solve all of your problems. And when I first heard that line at the beginning, I was like, okay, that just sounds like a dumb kid thing to say, but it definitely sounds like a dumb kid kind of thing. But I was not expecting it to come back at the end and feel so meaningful, I guess. I will say for the grade school segment of it, the dialogue felt very adult at times. It felt like adults speaking through children's bodies for a lot of it, which normally I don't harp on a lot with anime, because it's supposed to be very... a lot of anime is very speaking the theme out loud kind of stuff. But this is a film that does not have a lot of internal monologues. It does not have a lot of overly long speeches about the themes of the film. It's mostly people bouncing off of each other in interesting ways in terms of character building and running. So when you have those moments of the characters doing that, doing the typical anime stuff, in this context, it sort of takes me out a little bit. So it's just a matter of like two narrative styles being combined in a way that I don't think they mesh very well. Um, but I loved pretty much all of the characters in this film. They are very fun to follow. I love Kaido at the very end. I think that's his name, Kaido. This gruff looking dude who is always in the back, who's always like sort of left out of the conversation of, oh, who's going to be the very best? Is it Komiya or is it Zaitsu? And Kaido's just like, fuckers, I'm here too. And then he has that moment of like, oh, of Komiya and Zaitsu in front of him in the race. He's like, this is reality, huh? Time to escape reality. And then he blows past both of them. So fucking cool. But yeah, this was a very fun film that I kind of expected I wasn't going to have a whole lot to say about. I don't even know how long we've been going at this point. But it's a very solid sports film that honestly gave me a little bit of motivation for what I'm doing right now. I am in the final week of training for my new job, and my tests start in 3 days from the recording of this. So by the time this comes out, I will be long past that, and hopefully in a brand new job. So hopefully I will be able to take the motivation from this of just the giving it your all, and in the specific ways in which I can give it my all, and apply that to whatever comes next. So yeah, fun little bit of motivation. Good movie.
All right, 100 meters is complete, and we're gonna scroll up to, where did I decide I was gonna put you? We're gonna put you in, come on, we're gonna put you in the number 14 spot with a decent 8. Really solid movie. Got some good motivation out of it. Really great experimental animation and stuff. I liked that. Okay. What's next? Next we got With You, Our Love Will Make It Through. I think this is the furry show. This is the furry rom-com or romance series with the big wolf boy and then the human girl. I mean, let's go for it.
Kind of looks like shit, but in weird ways. I got like a little over halfway through With You, Our Love Will Make It Through. Story's fine, if extremely cliche. Very shoujo-y in appearance, which I'm fine with. I like my shoujo when there's good shoujo. And this, if you're a furry, I mean, give it a shot. Main character is a hot wolf boy, but like, the production is just not there in the weirdest ways. Like, the character designs are very detailed and polished, but they move weirdly. Like, there's jank to the movement in ways that I'm having difficulty describing. I have seen shows like this before where it's just, the movements aren't quite right. They're either too fluid or not fluid enough in combination with each other. Like, there was one particular cut, it's like a overhead shot of the main girl walking across a bridge, and like her lower half, the movement is like more detailed than I was expecting, but her top half was just completely stationary and just not moving at all, and it looked very weird. And there's a lot of weird stuff like that. Color palette's not great. The browns are it's very brown, which is probably not the kind of aesthetic you want for a romance like this. It's just kind of icky to look at. The framing is not good a lot of the time. Like, there are a lot of shots where the frame just looks off, either because they're trying to hide the fact that they can't animate something for very long, or it could just be incompetence. It could just be that they're bad at framing. They're bad at panning shots. They're bad at putting something in the correct portion of the frame. Which, I'm not one to throw stones in that department, considering what you're looking at right now. Probably this isn't exactly a well-composed shot, but I'm not making an anime for hundreds of thousands of people to watch. So, anyway, yeah, this is just not a good production. It's just not fun to look. It's just not appealing to look at, is the bottom line of it. I am kind of interested in where the beast folk racism stuff is going. But I don't particularly care about the particular people. And, well, that's not even that. I think the characters are fine. Generic, but fine. It's just, well, first of all, the setup is a little iffy. And they kind of yada yada a lot of stuff. But, and the delivery of the exposition is very clunky. But that's not really my main problem with this. It's mostly just how it looks. I really like the character designs, but the framing's bad, the compositing is bad, the color design's bad, and very often the animation is super lacking. So it's just not a show I like looking at.
Alright, yeah. Just kind of looking, so we're going to take that off the list. Next is Komada, a whiskey family, which is a late addition to the list. That the subs for this actually came out in spring, which is why it's in the pink font here. But this is a PA Works film, I believe, from late 2023 actually, and the subs are finally out. It looks like a very PA Works kind of film, so hopefully they are able to play to their strengths with this one.
Not gonna lie, this is pretty boring. Very... some would charitably describe it as low-key. I would call it boring. I don't know, I think I watched 15 minutes of Komada, a whiskey family. If you're really interested in how the whiskey is made, this show is definitely going to teach you. It is definitely going to teach you that. And that's cool. That's probably the most interesting part of this show, is learning how whiskey is made. Not the show, movie. But all of the characters are pretty bland so far. The reporter guy is just kind of bad at his job in a way that I was kind of bad at my job when I was a reporter, but I wasn't really trying to be a reporter when I was doing it. Or, well, I was trying to, but it wasn't my main line of work. This guy is bad at researching, and the lady running the whiskey is just sort of yeah, it's fine, whatever. I'm well, she's very forgiving. And also the voice acting is super flat most of the time. The main girl in this, I forget what her name is, Yui, maybe? I don't remember. But she has a fight with a guy for some reason that will probably be revealed later in the movie. But her voice acting in that moment is just so flat and lacking in emotion. It was just kind of lame. Also, the character designs are really boring looking. They have no... flair is the wrong word. But they have no excitement to them whatsoever. There's nothing really interesting about how they look. They just look kind of bland. So, yeah, that's, I would call that a bit disappointing. And I'm not really sure why this one was so bland looking. Like, this one was like smack dab in the middle of a gap in PA Works like schedule. Like, this is 2 months. This came out, hold on, like 7 or 8 months after. Wait, hold on. No, Skip and Loafer. No, it came out 4 months after Skip and Loafer ended. Like 4 or 5 months after Skip and Loafer. And it was like a whole year before their next show, which was the Sakuna, I believe. Not a whole year, but like 6 months before their 6, 7 months before the next show. And the only other thing on their plate at that moment was like, it was called Journey to Bloom, which I guess was a bunch of shorts for Project Sakai, which is ironic, I guess, considering that PA Works then went on to make the Project Sakai movie, which I'm going to watch shortly, in a few days probably, and we'll see how that goes. I don't really like Hatsune Miku that much, aside from the character design, but I will say, at least for as boring as the story is in the short, I watched the first episode of that, of Journey to Bloom, just to see for comparison, and at least for as bland as the story is, at least the visuals were at least kind of ambitious and interesting looking. But Komada is just not that good looking. I can say it has really solid color design. I love the like rich saturation to the darker colors that it has. But aside from that, the only thing worth noting is the cool saxophone solo in the soundtrack. Like, it just couple saxophone notes coming out of nowhere. Like, oh hey, that's a saxophone. Oh, also, there's a part where the soundtrack gets really overbearing. I think it's during the opening credits, and it just becomes like so like intense and like overjoyous for a scene that is just very bland. This is bland. That's all I can say. It's bland.
Boring. Komada off the list. Next is The Fated Magical Princess. Who made me a princess? Who gave you this redundant title? I believe this is a Chinese production, and also the second to last TV series on the list. Although I don't think it's a TV series. I think it's just a web series actually. So anyway, it looked fun from the few bits I've seen of it. Let's give it a shot.
I was concerned for this one for precisely the reason that I ended up dropping it, and that it suffers from the same thing that a lot of Chinese productions suffer from, in that I guess suffer from is a wrong word, but I don't like the presentation for a lot of this. Some, it's just aesthetic choices. Other, it's actually like actual continuity errors and stuff, or just wonky animation. There are two general, from what I have viewed so far, there are three general schools of thought with Chinese animation. There's there's the full CG stuff that I just haven't touched on because it started a while ago, and there's like 87 seasons of all of these shows now that I just haven't seen, and I don't know where to stream them, and I don't feel like torrenting them. There's the camp of just do it like anime and just make it look exactly like an anime, like Herbivorous Dragon. And then there's not necessarily a middle ground, but more of an anime, but it's anime, but the characters move a little differently. It's anime, but CG assets seem to be emphasized rather than downplayed. It's anime, but it looks a little bit shinier. Does that make sense? And Who Made Me a Princess is that third one. I got about an episode and a half into this, and I was willing to roll with it after the first episode, even though the emphasis on the CG assets is not particularly good. Like the chandelier thing, it just looks really bad. I don't like that aesthetic at all. I'm sure it seems like they're doing it on purpose, like they meant for it to look that way. I just don't think it looks good that way. And I think the plot for this is pretty solid. I like our main princess character, Anastasia. I don't know what her Chinese name is because the subtitles are for the Japanese dialogue, but I watched it with the Chinese audio track, which is fine. It's good. I just don't know how to pronounce the princess's name. But she is fun for the most part. It's this plot of like she can see her future and her future demise because her dad's a dickhead. And so she is trying to work to prevent all the bad things that happen in her life. So pretty tried and true plot for anime at this point, but it works. Because she's just kind of cute and adorable. Aside from that, I guess, again, it's not bad, it's fine. And then when you pair it with animation that I am iffy on, like some of the shots, the way characters move is really jank. In episode 2, there's just a straight up series of continuity errors where it's like she runs into her dad and she's holding a bag of jewels behind her back. But then it cuts to a shot of her being nervous and she's like gripping her dress nervously, like like you grab your clothes when you're nervous, but she doesn't have the bag in her hand anymore. And then it cuts to another shot of her holding the bag behind her back. And it like goes on like that for several seconds, and then apparently she was hiding bags under her dress or something, and they just all spill out when she gets picked up. It was just a very weird series of continuity errors that just completely took me out of the moment. So like, my reasons for dropping this are purely on a presentation level. I don't like the CG. Has a very weird series. It's very weird with its continuity errors because that's the one I remember most prominently, but I believe there were some others. And yeah, this show's just kind of, aside from that, the show's fine, but yeah, I just don't like how it looks. That's plain and simple. It's shiny and pretty for those parts that are supposed to look shiny and pretty, but the CG is overly shiny and pretty to the point where it stands out and I dislike it. Yeah, unfortunate.
Another swing and a miss, unfortunately. Who Made Me a Princess is coming off the list. Next, Make a Girl. This is another movie that no one seemed to talk about at all. Seems kind of sci-fi from what I saw of the key visual. I think this came out in January, I think. Maybe it's a hidden gem. Let's give it a shot.
Honestly, I thought the fact that this movie looked like shit would be the main thing I'd complain about, but honestly, there are quite a few other things I could complain about in the 3.5 minutes of this dog shit movie that I watched. It's bad. But yeah, for one, looks like shit. Frame rate is really gross, and the way that the hair moves is very off-putting. it's not quite rainbow vomit in terms of color palette, but it is definitely a specific type of vomit. It's like the way that the yellows, oranges, greens, and blues blend together. Like that range of color, the way that all that meshes together looks fucking disgusting. The faces are terribly animated. Expressions are really bad. It all looks like dog shit. But also, I can't tell what the fuck is going on sometimes. Like, it opens on someone doing, like, some tinkering mad scientist shit in a school, and a teacher's yelling at him, but you can't tell what they're doing, and then an explosion happens somewhere, but you don't see the explosion, you only hear it, then the teacher screams, and you don't see what happened. So what the fuck was the point of that? Then, someone walks into a hotel or something like that, or an apartment suite or something, you see a line of doors, so it's like, okay, this is either a hotel or a series of apartments or something, and she goes in the door, and it's this giant lab on the other side with like a basement level and everything, and it's like, what were the other doors for? What was the point of that? And then, what actually got me to just be like, fuck this, I'm done, is she walks up to this mad scientist dude, and she's like, what are you working on? And he goes, probably an AI or something. Huh? What? How do you not know what you are currently working on? Like, Are you stupid? Are you brain dead? Have you lost a chunk of your brain in the past 30 minutes? Or whatever. This is comically bad. It's so bad. Honestly, it's hard to get below a 6.0 on Mal, but I don't understand how this has above a 6.0. Probably because barely anybody watched it, and the only people who watched it are people like me who watch everything, and people who specifically seek out something like this, or were fans of the manga, or something. Either way, this is hot dog shit.
Gross, 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 gross. Color palette off my list. No, no, no. Okay. Colorful Stage, the movie. A Miku Who Can't Sing. This is a movie that technically should be in the spring, but because I did have the opportunity to go see it in April, but I kind of just didn't want to because I am not super into Vocaloid, which I believe I discussed in the Komada section. But this is also a PA Works film, so it might be better looking than Komada. I know a lot of people liked this, but also all of those people that liked it are also big Vocaloid people, which again I am not. But I will give it my due diligence, and let's give it the old college try.
Yeah, this one's pretty much just for the Project Sekai fans, it seems like. I have no clue how this world works. Apparently there is something in-universe called Sekai. I don't know what it is. After like 9 minutes of the movie, is it a virtual world? Is it an app? It looks like it's a virtual world because people log in and they do things with like virtual bodies. But no one told me that in the show. I assume you just have to know that from Vocaloid or Project Sekai, which I guess this, based on the title of the movie, I guess that's what this is based on. I have no interaction with Project Sekai whatsoever. I barely have any interaction with Hatsune Miku whatsoever because I actively dislike how Vocaloid sounds. Specifically, I actively dislike how Vocaloid vocals sound. I do not like the robotic tone of it. It is actively grating to my ears. Now, I like a lot of Vocaloid songs when they're covered by other people. Like back when Makaku City Actors was airing, if anyone remembers that show, I like a lot of the songs from that. Like the openings was really solid. I think that was Garnadelia. Lisa had two covers in that, and I don't know who covered Lost Time Memory, but that was a really fun one. Honestly, I would rather go back and watch Makaku City Actors than this, even though I know that Makaku City Actors was a train wreck, because at least Makaku City Actors was interesting in weird ways. This one is boring in boring ways, and also just frustrating in the fact that it is just for Project Sakai fans and not for people who don't know anything about Hatsune Miku. There is a lot of assumption going on with this movie. It assumes that you know a lot about Hatsune Miku, which, as an anime fan who has not interacted with the property at all, I still know a little bit about Hatsune Miku. But also, all of the characters in this are very boring so far. There's no real hook aside from the one girl who I think quit a band at some point and was selling her guitar online. Don't know who she is other than that, but she's there. Also, because also they meet a Miku in Project Sakai, in Sakai, that is different from the Miku that's running around in the real world, apparently. And also, these girls are just talking to Hatsune Miku in a virtual world, I guess. Again, not explained at all. Don't tell me I should have played Project Sakai before watching this, because that's fucking stupid. Normally, well, not normally. No, I'm not going to continue that line of thought. This is just the general, based on a video game complaints, I guess, of it catering to fans and not to people who don't know the video game. If it's a video game, I actually don't know what Project Sakai is. It could be anything. But I'm assuming it's a video game of some caliber, or a virtual world, or something. Also, the movie's not super impressive to look at. I was talking in the Komada review about how PA Works kind of fumbled that in terms of visuals in certain areas. And this one looks slightly better than Komada, but not by an appreciable amount. The character designs are more solid, but they're also more generic, and they just don't have any... They look like Bandori washouts. They look like Bang Dream washouts. And this is coming from someone who does not like Bang Dream at all. I have no... every time I have attempted a Bang Dream watch of any kind, it has failed miserably. So when I tell you that these designs are less interesting than that, that means something. Backgrounds are pretty, but also pretty generic, and there is no excuse for a movie to have multiple CG crowd shots. There is no excuse for that. If you're going for anime film, you should have anime film quality, which means get rid of that fucking CG crowd bullshit. When was the first time I saw CG crowds in anime? It might have been Parasite, actually, was when I first noticed it. Which was over a decade ago now, and they have been around and plaguing me forever since. So yeah, I don't fully understand the premise. I don't like Vocaloid music. And I don't think the movie's all that impressive to look at. I don't need a 3 strikes and you're out for this show, but apparently I got it.
Alright, Colorful Stage is off the list. I guess I guessed right by not seeing that in theaters. Next is Fureru. This is I think a Cloverworks movie from a while back that no one talked about. There's a lot of Cloverworks movies like that just kind of come and go. Let's see if this one's got any sauce to it at all.
From the director and writer of Anohana, Toradora, and Iron-Blooded Orphans comes a movie with a concept that neither that director nor writer are capable of doing with their particular skill sets. What a statement. Considering that I like all three of those things. Although it's been a very long time since I've seen Anohana. What was that, 2013 or 2012 I first watched that? Probably 2013. But anyway, we got about 15 minutes-ish into Fureru, a movie from Mario Okada that nobody fucking talked about. Which is shocking. But also not shocking because this movie completely squanders its concept. So, this is a movie about 3 kids who, when they're in like grade school or something, or even younger than that, they find a magical little hedgehog thing that that gives them the ability to, when they touch each other, when they hold hands with each other, they can read each other's thoughts. And it's important for one of the characters who is not very social and is not good with words. Which, like, okay, cool concept. Let's see where you go with this. Cue a 5-minute montage of the next 10 years of their lives. Probably more than that, actually. And I'm like, I would have liked to see that part, but okay. Let's keep going. See where they go with this. Let's see what they do with this concept. Which, by the way, did not know that was the concept until after that montage, because I don't read synopses before I go into a show. But I actually think I did read the synopsis for this just because I got bored and curious. And I don't really think I gathered that from the synopsis, or maybe I did. I don't fucking... Anyway, cut to the first time we see them using this power. And the way that they visualize this is the screen gets a blue filter over it, and you just hear their thoughts bouncing around in everyone's heads. Lame. Like, you couldn't have thought of any other way to visualize that. Not like if I were to think of how this concept would be visualized, I would think about it in terms of images, because it's easier to show than it is to tell. It's easier to get you get a more complete picture by seeing a visual of something than just the words describing the thing. A picture is worth 1,000 words. That concept. But apparently this director did not think of that. Which, again, not that surprising, because that's not really his wheelhouse. His wheelhouse is doing Mario Okada dramas, which he's good at. He made Toradora, and he made Anohana. Both of those, very good. He made IBO, which is a very, very good show that is not like those shows at all, except for some of the melodrama. But if you're gonna do something with a concept like this that's very imagery heavy, you kind of have to have imagery. I don't feel like I have to justify myself any other way with this. Like, the rest of the show's not incompetent, but, like, we get over a decade time skip, and the main character is just as bad at words as an adult as he was when he was, like, 8. Like, he almost punches a customer who was yelling at him at a bar because he couldn't express himself. Which, how did he get that job in the first place if you can't talk to the customers? I would have liked... So, like, apparently nothing at all happened in those 10 plus years of time skip. Cool character. Yeah, this kind of sucks. It looks good. It looks like a Cloverworks movie, which is good, I guess. I don't really have any complaints about how it looks other than it's a little bit generic looking, but it is extremely polished. But yeah, this bad interpretation of a script. Could also be a bad script too. Mario Okada's it's been a while since she's had a banger. I liked Maboroshi. I know a lot of people did not like Maboroshi, but I thought it was pretty okay. This is not even that bad.
Alright, Fureru is unfortunately off the list. One show left from the season, Spy Family Season 3. I've liked all the seasons of Spy Family so far, pretty much about the same amount. I still think the first season was the strongest, but I think this gradual score drop is unwarranted for the most part across all these seasons. Is good. I like it more than the manga. We are well past the point at where I stopped reading the manga, so let's see if this new season can keep the fun going.
Okay, and that brings an end to the fall 2025 season and the entire year of 2025 in terms of anime. Just finished up Spy Family Season 3, and it is good. Although I will say, I think my love for Spy Family is starting to wane a bit. I have covered pretty much every season of this show on the seasonal wrap-up show. I think I've covered all of this, actually. I think I have covered the entirety of Spy Family on the seasonal wrap-up show. And I don't remember anything that I've said in those past ones because it's been so long ago. But I imagine all of those still hold true. However, I have some complaints this time around. Not all complaints. I'm still going to give this a solid score. I still think the action is really solid in this. Not all the time, but most of the time. I think this is definitely one of the... Well, again, I don't really remember the other seasons, so I can't really compare, because I know the cruise ship arc had some phenomenal action stuff in it. But still some pretty solid action scenes in this. Not super Sakuga heavy, which is not something that I expect from the action in this show typically, if I recall correctly. It's much more about the shot composition and the impacts and all of that, and it does that pretty well. I know there was some quote unquote interesting production things going on with this season in the sense of Wit Studio being the absentee father this time around, leaving Cloverworks holding the bag, and Zexus as well, which, you know what? I don't really have a problem with that, because Zexus is a horribly underrated studio. They're not bad. they can get shit done. Where was I going with this? Sorry, I've been having a very bad headaches for the past few weeks, so bear with me. But anyway, good looking show overall. I love the little small bits of Sakuga saved for like the character acting stuff. Those little flourishes of movement really bring this show to life in an interesting way that I think has sort of become like a calling card for this show in a way, in like these little tiny movements of like Anya being super cute and bouncing around, or even just the way like a character moves in action or in like a regular dialogue scene. It's really good at doing that. And generally, I think the comedy is pretty solid in the sense of how Spy Family has always been pretty solid with its comedy, but also very hit and miss. And I think there's been a few more misses this season, in particular with some of yours stuff. Because like with Anya's comedy, it's like it stems from, well, she's a child and she doesn't really know how the world works, and also she's kind of a dumb child despite the mind reading stuff. So that's where a lot of the comedy with her stems from. The comedy with Lloyd stems from he is a spy, so he is constantly like doubting everything, and he is constantly overthinking everything and thinking that his cover's being blown and stuff like that. Yours comedy comes from the fact that she acts like a space alien and doesn't understand humans. And it's kind of always been like that, but it's just getting more and more laborious as the show goes on, and she keeps acting like this, I guess. I don't recall what I said about her in previous seasons, but I feel like this is probably how I felt before, in the sense of like, she's just, her comedy in particular is just not funny to me. And brief aside, for despite that the fact that I do like this show, people get really fucking weird about this show when they don't like it, because it's like, now maybe there's some, because like I remember one Twitter post, it was like, if you talk about how the spy family's romance never progresses, people say that it's actually an action show, that it's actually like a big narrative show. And if you talk about how the narrative never progresses, they call it like a comedy or something. And I'm like, no one says that. No one is saying that to you. You're just making stuff up. You're either that or you're talking to really stupid people. Because, like, nobody can just say that they don't like a show anymore. Nobody can just say that they think it's not funny or that they think it isn't cool. Like, just say that. You don't have to invent three different straw men arguments about, like, fucking nonsense. Like, maybe Spy Family is an action comedy that has a little bit of plot and a little bit of romance and a little bit of family stuff, and it's all of that, but it's mostly an action comedy. And if you don't like the comedy, then you just don't like the show. Like, you can just say that it's not funny. People, it's like this, I don't know why, it's the popularity has a lot to do with it, because this is a very popular show, but like something about this show makes people who don't like it stupid. And I'm not saying they are stupid for not liking it. I'm saying they are acting stupid about why they don't like it. You can just say you think it's not funny. And that's a very valid criticism. I could easily see people not finding this show funny. A lot of it is very frustrating. Like, for as reasonable as the comedy is with Anya, it's also very frustrating because she's kind of dumb, and it's on top of that, she is a kid who doesn't understand the world completely, and so the comedy becomes very frustrating. That's my mini rant about this. Anyway, other criticisms I have generally is for as much as I like first of all, I do think the narrative is actually pretty solid in Spy Family. Like, I thought Lloyd's backstory was pretty okay. Nothing's mind-blowing or anything, but solid. I thought the Wheeler arc was really solid. The bus hijacking was solid just in terms of plot and like what happens, the suspense thriller aspects of it, or action thriller aspects of it, I should say. However, this, I don't think I've ever brought this up in particular with Spy Family, but I do need to bring it up with this one in particular, in that Spy Family has always been very centrist with its politics, very slightly left-leaning at most, and when you're just doing generic spy story stuff, that could work. That's fine. If you just want to do generic spy stuff, like the Wheeler arc, nothing to do with, well, no direct politics parallels, or at least no obvious politics parallels, that works. If you start assigning political leanings to the groups doing the spy stuff, it causes me, it instigates in the viewer an idea to be like, oh, this is the left and this is the right. Now, they're not particularly kind to the right in this. They are, most of the right-leaning criminals that they fight are typically mostly not necessarily unsympathetic, but not framed in a way that is meant to be super sympathetic. And then we get to the bus hijacking arc with the Red Circus, which is obviously meant to parallel like a left-wing radical group. The main guy his daughter was killed by the authoritarian group, the authoritarian government of Ostania. By the way, don't forget, this is supposed to be like an East Germany, West Germany kind of place. It doesn't... The more we get into the story, it doesn't map onto that one-to-one, despite the obvious names, like Berlin. But that's obviously what it's trying to evoke with the names. Anyway, like, so we have this left-wing radical group in this arc that takes a bunch of children hostage, and we are told that the government of Ostania is like brutally suppresses protesters and stuff. We don't ever see it, but we're told about it. But the way this arc is set up, there's no, like, and so to that point, I guess. Like, there's never, like, an out-and-out, like, hey, this, it's bad that, what am I trying to say? There is no resolution, even intent, there is no intent of resolution to the point of the government of Ostania is brutally suppressing left-wing protesters. They just show that the result of that is a left-wing resistance group that will take children hostage. Which is like... which the most charitable reading of that is that it's like is both sides isms. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't have tolerance for both sides isms right now. I just don't. There's nothing you can do to make me think that way right now. I just don't have tolerance for that because one side is very obviously doing evil shit and the other side is protesting against the evil shit. And like you could say that I'm reading too much into this, but like why put it in there at all? Why put it in there at all? Why assign a political leaning to the group if you don't want people to think that way about the political leaning? Like, it could have just been, you could have just said a radical group or a terrorist group. But the show specifically said a left-wing group that grew out of a protest movement. And there is no resolution to that in terms of like what should be done. Like we even see that the government's secret service agents were going to let a bunch of kids die in order to kill the radicals. But this arc ends with the radical group leader seeing memories of his daughter in Anya, and so he just gives himself up. And that's just not interesting. That part was very, very disappointing. And also, another disappointing thing is the season ends on kind of a downer, in a way, for Lloyd specifically, because it ends with... Because, like, there's the big confrontation between Wheeler and Nightfall, where he's like, I am strong because I don't trust anyone and I don't rely on anyone and I'm all by myself and that's why I'm strong. And then he gets the shit kicked out of him by Nightfall because she is so infatuated with Lloyd. And so the thought process there's like, okay, she beat him with the power of love / friendship / teamwork, etc. It's shown in anime. I expect that. And it was a good version of that. But then the season ends on Lloyd going, I was not strong enough and I had to rely on other people. And I need to get stronger so that I don't have to rely on other people. I'm like, man, come on. Maybe that will get resolved in a next season, if this gets another season. But, like, you could have left, like, a little hint of him floating in that direction, but he just straight up doesn't. It's just so, it's a bit of a downer. It's a bit of a downer to end on. I don't like it. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about this season specifically. It's probably the most disappointed I've been. But I still think the show is good. I still think the show is worth watching. One last critique though, the knuckle cracking sound effects that they use in this, I don't like at all. They're like too meaty. They're too deep in tone. They're a little too cartoony, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It's to the point of it being off-putting. Yeah, like There, that's, I don't know if the camera picked that up, but that's what knuckle cracking is supposed to sound like. There we go. A little bit higher pitched. Uh, yeah, this was good, but I am disappointed. Oh well.
All right. Spy Family Season 3 is complete. And where did I decide I was going to put this one? Not super high up, but still somewhere up here. Yeah, we're going to put you right in here, right under Yaiba in the number 35 spot with a decent 7. Still very fun, but I have my critiques. Alright, and with that, the fall season is complete, as is the entire year of 2025. Before we move on to some recap, I believe I bumped up these numbers since I added a bunch of entries this season, but my total fall season count was 14 entries, so right in the middle, as is expected. But in any case, let's get to some year-end stats. So, we had a total of 61 entries this season, 17 from the winter, 13 from the fall, 16 from summer, and did I say that right? 17 from winter, 13 from spring, 16 from summer, and 14 from fall. Winter got an average of 6.94 in terms of score, which was the lowest. Second lowest was spring with 7.08. Third lowest was, or I guess second highest, was the fall with a 7.57, which was a huge jump. And summer, I don't know how summer scored that high, a 7.75. Must be all of the 8s that I gave. And if we just look at the top 10 here, it is basically nothing but, even the top 15, it's basically nothing but summer and fall shows. Summer and fall really showed up this year. Like, there's only, even in the top 20, there's only 2 shows from winter and 2 shows from spring. And one of them is a TV special. Winter, definitely disappointed a little bit. And whoever said that fall was a disappointment was a fucking liar, because we got 3 9s from that season, and then 1 9 from spring and 1 9 from summer. This is a damn good year for anime, with a total average of 7.21. That ain't bad. That ain't bad. We had 40 series, which are basically like TV series or web series that of a significant episode length. 3 shorts. Those were the Galactic or Milky Subway, Galactic Limited Express, the Liko Reko shorts, and Alien Stage. 9 movies, and then 9 OVAs or specials. So basically, anything that's not listed as a movie or any of the other things. So, yeah. I am fairly proud of this year of anime. It definitely didn't look like it was going to start strong. It definitely did not start strong. The first half of the year was a bit disappointing, with barely any 8s or 9s. Only 1 9 from the first half of the year. But I don't know what happened. Maybe something in me came around in the back half of the year. Or maybe the back half of the year was just saving it up. There were definitely a lot of like movies in my top 10. We got and TV specials. We got Kaguya and Mononoke and Chainsaw Man. But also there's still a decent handful of series. But yeah, very fun year of anime. A lot of surprises, both good and bad. But yeah, that's it for now. Join me in winter, which will be in... I'll probably put out the next video. I don't know when this video is coming out. This is probably coming out sometime in February, so you might get the start of the winter season pretty soon after that. But until then, my name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.